We all know that 2023 was absolutely filled to the brim with amazing games, from incredibly well-done remakes like Dead Space and Resident Evil 4 to the meticulously crafted fantasy worlds we experienced in games like Hogwarts Legacy and Breath of the Wild. But 2023 wasn't just a good year for AAA developers. Indie devs really popped off this year with games like Dredge, Sea of Stars, and the game I want to talk about today. Dave the Diver released in June of 2023. It stars a friendly-looking man named Dave as he takes what he thinks is a vacation across the world to enjoy sushi and the Great Blue Ocean. That is, until almost immediately, he's contracted by a man named Cobra to dive into the ocean and hunt fish for a sushi restaurant he's invested in. And that's essentially the premise the game starts off with. Dave, and consequently the player, will now be indentured workers for Cobra, helping him fish the sushi that will be prepared at his restaurant. Not only that, but after the day of diving is over, Dave now has to help the sushi chef run the establishment, pouring matcha teas and delivering food until the restaurant closes. Dave will then end his day, hopefully getting enough sleep to do it all over again. For Dave, this vacation has quickly turned into a sinister plot to keep him working forever, with very little time off. But for players, this is actually a really cozy, relaxing video game. Well, that is until you experience some of the untold horrors that lie deep down the sea. As I explained, the main loop of this game is to fish enough food to keep the restaurant open. You can only dive twice a day, however, and there's a limited amount of oxygen you have when you're underwater. After diving for the day, you go back to the sushi restaurant, where you can help set up the menu and other decorations, and whenever you're ready, you can open for business. I'll be honest, the restaurant side of the gameplay is nothing too exhilarating or fast-paced. I don't know, maybe I'm not far enough, so some gameplay mechanics haven't opened up yet, but mostly what you'll be doing is bringing food to customers and pouring them tea and cleaning up the leftover tables until the night is over. What's interesting as well, though, is that your restaurant has a social media account, and throughout the night you could see what people have to say about your restaurant, which is kind of cool. If you serve people too late or don't clean up leftover tables, people will roast the hell out of you in the comments. It's kind of like YouTube, actually. Depending on how each night goes, you'll either gain or lose favor with your clientele, and that reflects in the star rating of your restaurant. Everything you do, from introducing new recipes to upgrading the flavor of existing recipes, or improving the ambiance, will affect that review score. I will say that Dave isn't exactly Usain Bolting out here. He's quite slow on land, which usually ends up in a few customers leaving before getting their dishes. Because just like in real life, they can't wait an extra second for their food, and they will promptly throw a hissy fit if the service isn't absolutely perfect. Luckily, you can eventually hire more staff to help lighten the workload. To me, the restaurant side of this game feels like a side hustle, and it's kind of a bit too repetitive for me. Honestly though, where Dave the Diver really shines is in, well, diving. The spot you dive into is known as a blue hole, a cavernous, deep hole within the ocean. But this one has some special properties to it. Every time you dive, it'll randomly generate a different layout, so no two expeditions are the same. While you're down there, you can use your harpoon gun to fish whatever you plan on serving at the restaurant, and you can also explore to your heart's content. Or I should say to your lungs' capacity, as you only have a certain amount of oxygen before Dave passes out and has to be rescued. Now, when this happens, you're only allowed to retrieve one item that you picked up, so it's important that you budget your oxygen accordingly. That's not all there is to do. There are a ton of quests you're given, along with different mini-games and challenges that you'll kind of be bombarded by. Most quests boil down to fetching some item from the depths and bringing it back, but some will ask a lot of you. One quest required me to kill a freaking shark, and that wouldn't be possible if it weren't for the large variety of weapons that are available. You can either find them in a weapon chest under the water, or you can craft them yourself. Eventually you'll uncover some pretty cool artifacts that allude to an ancient civilization of mermaid people who lived in this ocean, and that's a pretty big part of the story that I don't want to spoil. I've seen some people say that the constant barrage of quests is a bad thing. It seems like every day someone will pull up to your boat and ask you to do some random ass thing. Every time this happens, Dave is just like, well, why do I have to pick up seashells for you? Can't you just do it? But he always ends up doing it anyway, because if there were no objectives, I think this game would be far less interesting. I understand the complaints though. People might just want to focus on the restaurant management aspect of this game, but it's much more than that. People going into this game expecting only that may be a little disappointed with the amount of other stuff they'll have to end up doing. The game feels like it's constantly adding new mechanics, but as someone with an absolutely minuscule attention span, Dave the Diver just hits a perfect balance between cozy, familiar gameplay loop and an engaging game. No 2 days will look the exact same, and I'm here for it. Although for some, managing oxygen levels while navigating around sharks and other aquatic life that might want to eat Dave might not be the most relaxing experience. But what really shines here though is the game's overall presentation. It's a pixelized 2.5 dimension art style that really suits the general gameplay. Swimming through the ocean and taking in the sight makes for a serene and beautiful experience. The soundtrack pairs perfectly with the art style, while some tracks like the restaurant music can be a bit repetitive. But as you explore deeper, you will find yourself enamored with the general vibe this game sets. Anyway, I could really go on and on about this game, but this is really an indie game that everyone, including you, should play and experience for yourself. It won the Steam Award for Best Relaxing Game, and in my opinion, it deserved it. There's so much to experience here, and at its price, it's an absolute steal. So there you have it. I highly recommend this game, even if you're not usually into this genre like me. So yeah, that's all I have to say. If you like this video, please like it. I'd appreciate it a lot. See ya.